funny. There it is.
You're on the air.
I was listening. I was sitting again earlier before service, and glasses yet are in this pocket. I know where they are.
You must be my brother.
You know what happens? Your energy. You have no idea how much energy you bring into this room, and I wind up floating up on top of it, and sometimes I'm not sure what's going to happen next. Because I will share with you, so many times I come prepared with notes, and I don't look at them, if you notice that, because your energy brings the message through. Which is what we're going to be talking about today, is the great I Am. What's interesting is I heard Quest Class talking about the great I Am, and Jesus, when God was asked by Moses, what is your name? The name came through as I am that I am. And if we really look at that, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. I'm going to quote, you are the light of the world. All these references to who we are, and we've forgotten it. You see, you can't take the great I am lightly. You have to understand, I am means you are the universe. Literally within you is the universe. And that's so tremendous in our thinking, it overwhelms us and we can't believe it. But every traditional philosophy, I'll use that term rather than religion, because the great religions are the Buddhists and the Hindus and the Mohammedans and Christians, and then there's others, but they all talk about the dignity and the divinity of who we are. And that's the basis, that's the beginning, and that was Jesus' message. And the convention helped me understand that we really, as a community, are going back to our spiritual roots. And when I say that, we have a portrait of Jesus up front. And that portrait is there not to be worshipped, not to be thankful as a son of God, but to know that we are children of God. Each one of us has the same capabilities, same inner workings, same everything that man had. And he said, I am the Son of Man. He was called the Son of God, but his claim was, I'm the Son of Man, and he said, these things I do, ye shall do, and even greater things. So if anything I took out of the convention was, that's true. And this group, this spiritual community is on that path. And so it was a great feeling for me to understand that, and it came in early. We heard great speakers, and you're going to get more of this as we go through the next few weeks. Each of the participants has agreed that they will share what they got out of it with you. Not this week, it's my turn.
We need to start our game, Robert.
Yeah. But the idea behind it is, you are the light of the world. And I'm going to share that with you out of the Bible, okay? Those of you that, the Bible says, so we really have to take it literally and understand it in the original language, which is why I use the Lampset translation. And the Lampset translation is by somebody that speaks Aramaic, which is what Jesus was speaking when these things were recorded. And I'm going to pull my glasses out. Oh, I'm over here. Did you see her shake her head?
I can feel it, though.
Okay. Now, this is Matthew 5:14. This is the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. Hi, come on in.
Thank you.
We will get this man a chair. I know we will. His name is John. Hi, John. Welcome.
Thank you. This is quite right here.
Okay, this is Jesus talking, and this is Jesus talking in the beginning of his ministry, and he had gathered a large group, and he was sharing philosophies with them. And this is verse 14. You are indeed the light of the world. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, light means emanation of an energy. You agree? And it's an energy that wasn't there before that then shines out and takes over the darkness. As far as energy is concerned, it's like that light up there, that's an energy that transmits itself into this room. And when the light's off, there's no energy called dark. There's an absence of light. Everybody there? So understand what that means is you are the light of the world. You have an energy that transmits itself into the world around us. That's who you are, each and every one of us. And the world has so conditioned us that we have forgotten that. And we have forgotten who we are and what we're here to do. That's called amnesia. Anybody familiar with that? Okay, and it's an amnesia through conditioning. We have forgotten. We don't know. We've made up all kinds of stories about what's true because we've been given the choice to think. And the minute we have the choice, it's up to us which path we take. And it's a mystical path, if you will, understanding the spiritual path. And it's a path that doesn't show results unless we're actually on the path. And we're separating, or as the term that Donald uses, disconnect or dislocate from the day-to-day thoughts. Then it goes on and says, you are indeed the light of the world. A city built upon a mountain cannot be hidden. Anybody ever seen these pictures of the world from space? And the United States is just full of light. Okay? And that's what it's like. The communities, there is an energy being transmitted throughout the world. And each one of us, this is the key, each one of us is a child of God, given the creative ability to think and create. So right now, here in Greater Pflugerville, yes?
Yes.
Okay? There is an energy being transmitted, and that energy is your thoughts and the combination of thoughts of everybody here. And so the question is, what kind of world do we live in? You made the choice. I made the choice. We made the choice. And that's what we're living in, is what we have decided is true. And the great I am, the I am that we are, is creating that based upon our thoughts. So then it goes on and says, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. So you don't light a light for the darkness and then shade it. And truth, what I got out of the convention this week was this. Unity, as part of, let's call it the New Thought community, has a light. And that light is changing the world a little bit at a time. So it's up to us to transmit the truth of who we are, which is I am a child of God, and all there is perfection because I hold it as such. And it's up to us to shine the light. Now, I'm going to be open with you. Everybody ready? This is called truth. That we have a tendency, and I've had a tendency to not talk about it, to hide it. They might think I'm part of a cult, or they might think that I'm heretic. Jesus was stoned. Jesus was put on the cross because they said he was a heretic. He claimed he was God. So if we say, I'm going to follow Jesus' example, no, I'm not going on the cross, but do you understand? And I have ducked the issue for years. I was raised in a very fundamentalist household. You've been told that. They prayed for me for years. And then when Mom and I got married, they prayed for both of us. And stop and think about that. That meant they thought I was on the wrong path and I was of the devil, if you will. But yet, whose light is shining? And I don't make any comparisons. I'm just saying, here's where I am, and here's where you are now. See, this spiritual community was put together to shine the light. Okay, now, is the spiritual path easy? It requires work. It requires dedication. It requires a certain amount of quiet time, meditation. It requires a certain amount of affirmative prayer. It requires some thinking beyond the day-to-day stuff that's out there. Might even require turning the TV off, which is one of my problems. Okay? But it requires consciously inserting myself into the positive vein of life rather than dwelling in the negative and ripping other people apart. You see, the law of attraction says, whatever I think about, I create. So very simple. Whatever I think about, I create. So if I'm upset at Mr. Trump or Mrs. Clinton, what am I creating? Anger and upset. Separation. Okay, I'm actually creating the negatives that I'm upset about, so I create more of those negatives, if that makes any sense. Now, some people don't like to hear that, but it's so close to us The Spirit loves us. Father's Day today is very interesting. And I was watching Cherry with the little one, Ava. Did you see how close that child is to her? I mean, she's not going to let her go. Hi. And the smile. Look at the smile. And basically, it's almost a metaphor for the way we're with our Heavenly Father. Now, again, we go back to this idea of Father. Remember, at that time, Father was totally different nomenclature than it was today. Father can be considered disciplinarian. The male role model has been very interestingly identified in today's world as a disciplinarian. Okay, so it has a tendency to be a negative connotation. And I admit to that in raising my girls, because we had to keep them all straight and narrow. But back then, Father was the nurturing, caring individual that ran the tribe called family, and I came to the Father to assist and be nurtured and to be supported. So if I had an idea or a business I wanted to start, or, I don't know, do religion, something, I went to the Father, asked permission, and the Father gave me advice, gave me the resources, and gave me the go-ahead to do it. So the connotation of Father is more like Father and Mother. That's why we like to use Father and Mother, so that the nurturing, caring aspects of God are in that conversation. Okay? So, you are the light of the world. You are part of the great I Am, the great divinity, energy, which is present in the world today. And we are creating a spiritual community that supports us in that conversation. What's the matter?
You're on a roll, and I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah, I am on a roll.
You're not going to believe the thing you did today.
Well, I heard it in your conversations. That's why I'm saying it is all the same language, and we are going there. See, it's like he brings this in, you're bringing this in, and what's happening is there's a coalition of ideas that are coming together to change history. Now, I don't know about you, but the world is in a mess. But it isn't. Because it's slowly changing over to, and go ahead.
Thank you.
She's going to do it more.
I'm going to do it.
Did you get that?
Your I Am is your true identity. In fact, it is your only identity. Only you can say the words I am. Only you can direct the energy of these words to a universe waiting to do your bidding.
Yep.
Thank you.
See, this is the great story. This is a story of unity, worldwide ministries. This is a story of Unity Center, a Church of Positive Prayer, whatever we're going to call ourselves. By the way, we need to get the name handled, okay? And what are we? Who are we? Why are we here? The great questions of life. And if you take a look at it and really bring it in, Bible, all the great writings, the Upanishads, this, that, they all say you're a child of God. And as a child of God, you are divinity, and you've forgotten it. You're in, and the fancy word is miasma, which means totally obliterated, thinking that you're not. And when somebody says you are, you go, because it's too hard to believe. And that guy's a heretic. He's nuts. But that's the message. And in our hearts, we know it. That's the key. We really know it. So I'm going back. By the way, please pick up these, Unity is Positive, this little booklet, because it's full. This is the overall view of unity. The nature of humankind. We are each individual eternal expressions of God, which is saying exactly the same thing. Okay, it is saying our essential nature is divine and therefore inherently good. So within everybody is that spark of goodness. However, they have allowed the thinking ego to take over and create the evil part of life, if you will. So evil is not an energy, evil is a lack of God energy in our thinking, if you will. I was reading it, and disease is inherently lack of God is in me. So when I'm dealing with skin cancers on my nose, that's a telling, got some work to do. Nothing wrong with it other than that's there. That's who I am. Then it goes on and says, our purpose is to express our divine potential. So I keep saying this. What's your skill? What are you good at? Okay? I spent years of life wandering around in the desert looking for things. Those of you know, I went to college, got a Yeah, a bachelor's degree in industrial management. Started with Ford Motor Company, working on the production line in Cleveland, Ohio, believe it or not. Then joined the Navy, learned electronics. Out of the Navy, got involved in manufacturing, but food manufacturing. And I spent, 25 years in that process. Okay, then I enjoyed speaking. I started finding my niche. And so I became a public speaker. And those of you that know what it takes to be a public speaker know we spent years struggling. Okay, because you don't walk out and get paid. Everybody wants to speak, but the key is getting money for speaking. Okay, and then I realized that there was another level. There was a level beyond positive thinking. You see, positive thinking is learning to control our thoughts, which is almost an impossibility. Divinity says, turn it over to me and I'll handle it. That's where we are. And that's the community that's being built here. And that's the community that's going to build a building down there that's a sanctuary for meditation, for quiet, and for spiritual growth. And I see it there, by the way. Matter of fact, Randy and I are involved. We got more action. We got General Steel stirred up, so we hope to have renderings in a couple of weeks. So we are making that step. And then it goes on and says, our purpose is expressed as realized and demonstrated by Jesus and other master teachers. See, that individual is an individual man that lived in the world, just like you and I. And he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And we forgot a word in there. I am is the way, the truth, and the life. So it means I am, the divinity within you is the way, the truth, and the life, as I have done it. So he's our big brother. He's our way shower. He's the one that lived here and said, okay, here's what you can do. Because he said, what? These things I do, you shall do, and even greater things. Memorize it. Stick it in your head, because that's who we are. We are God's in work, I guess. We're learning how. And basically, Jesus has said, I'm going to be there to support you, and stop worrying about it. Don't try to figure it out. Stop trying to manipulate things. Stop trying to figure out the easiest way and just turn it over. And it's really almost that simple. It really is. And see, divine spirit is there, you see it? But it's also in each one of your hearts. So, having said that, I haven't even looked up my notes on that. See, you did it again. Because, see, everything we need is already inside of you. And again, I go back to the Course of Love that is saying, time for learning is done. Stop and think about this. If you think you have to read the book to find the next great thing, it means you're not sure about who you are. And Course of Love is saying, that's over. It's now time to just know who you are. Which is basically what Donald was saying in his meditation. Unhook from all this stuff we've learned and understand that all there is God and I am that which is. And it's like, wow. Course in Miracles? Yes, I'm going to read it. Course in Miracles. And this is talking about the life. It's just a verification. God has lit your mind himself. So the energy of God has lit up your mind. You are the energy of God. Period. Now it's up to us what we do with that energy. It's our choice. Okay? Then it says, and keeps your mind lit by his light, because his light is what your mind is. So the ego has taken the mind over. Please understand that. If you want to figure it out, the domain of the ego is the mind and its corruption through its thought structure. So we're a spirit, heart. And it's learning to disconnect that little voice that says, no, you can't do that. What are you kidding me? That guy up front, he's a jerk. Okay, and those are the things that are being taught. And then it goes on and says, this is totally beyond question, and when you question it, you are answered. So you know the truth. Because the Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. For grace are you saved by faith. So forget about the salvation stuff. You're already saved. There is no sin because sin is originally absence of God. So there can be no absence of God because God is everywhere present. So all this stuff we deal with is unnecessary. Okay? And then it goes on and says, it answers. The answer merely undoes the question by establishing the fact that to question reality is to question meaninglessly. So the reality of who we are is so difficult for us to understand, and I'm asking us to start the journey on the spiritual path to understanding who you really are. And if resistance comes up, understand that's the ego trying to hold you back. So, having said that, God is good, all is well, that church will be built, and we are a spiritual community on the upswing. Understanding who we are and moving into the community of spirit. I love you dearly. Thank you so much. I'm finished.